would you rather Paolo or J-Dub to build a franchise around?
Right.
That was the first one. What is your guys' answer to that?
Who would I rather build a franchise around?
Yes.
Easy, Paolo Banchero.
And tell us why.
Right now, Jalen Williams, and I believe he doesn't get nearly enough credit for playing this postseason with a torn ligament in his wrist, and he's already an elite defender, and you're stacking on top of what he brings you as a playmaker and a scorer. And with Chet's injury this season, he was Oklahoma City's second most important player for over half the season. When you look at Paolo Banchero, who was a more raw prospect coming out, 2 years younger, he's, to me, the better scorer, the better playmaker. And his game, while still very unseasoned given how young he is, and he played 46 games this season, he has more kind of a runway to go in his development. I look at his shooting that can improve, but then I compare him to Jalen Williams from an efficiency standpoint. They're both hovering near league average. Jalen Williams, 57%, and Paulo's not too far behind, despite having an incredibly high role in what has been the last 2 years a dreadful situation. That being said, Orlando has won 46 and 41 games respectively, and oftentimes I think Paulo's underrated for a few reasons. One is advanced stats. Last season, the Magic were better with Franz Wagner on the floor, and we can get into that in a whole separate segment. But I believe that the other part of this is that we tend to compare him to the two players, his two contemporaries in that draft class, Chet and Jalen Williams, who are in an amazing situation in Oklahoma City. The coaching has been established as they came in. And, of course, you're playing next to the league MVP, but also a team that, from top down, Sam Presti has built the perfect cast to support those guys. So I feel like oftentimes we tend to see a guy like Jalen Williams play throughout the postseason. We see the Game 5 performance, and it's easy to say that he's a more NBA-ready player, he's a more seasoned player, but I would surely rather have Paolo to build my franchise around. And on top of that, I do say that Paolo Banchero is the better player currently, but it's also very close. You can't sit up here and say, because I've seen a lot of Magic fans. Shout out to my boy Brett James, who made a video on it. I know a lot of Magic fans are going to defend their guy. Same goes for Oklahoma City. But even with that in mind, it is a very close discussion. I believe it's one that is an intriguing conversation.
Shout out to the Six Man Show.
Yep.
Shout out to Brett James.
Yep.
I wanted to start a new segment of things that I got people mad with on Twitter. It seems to be like happening every week now. The Paolo versus J-Dub one, people got mad because I think that a lot of the argument that is being used for Paolo is that he's in a bad situation, and that's simply why you can't compare J-Dub and Paolo. Mm-hmm. But I don't think his situation holds him back from taking the right shots on offense that are more efficient shots. I will acknowledge this is a dreadful situation. I feel like most of the reasoning for Paolo is always about non-basketball reasons in terms of like actual skill set. Because I think actual skill set, J-Dub has showed so much that it is a real conversation between the two. I think the better player now is J-Dub. I think he's an all-world defender. He's one of the very best defenders in the planet. And then offensively, he played at a really high level in the conference finals, in the NBA finals, with a torn ligament in his wrist. And this is a player that, without Shea on the court this year, averaged 29 points per 75 possessions. He's shown that he can uptick that scoring volume. And I think if you swap J-Dub with Paolo in Orlando, they become better defensively. And it's hard to get much worse than they are offensively, right? So
Paolo missed half of the season.
He did. And one thing I'll say about him is that when the season started, before he got hurt, he was looking like a superstar.
First 5 games, he was all-world.
Yes.
And then he came off torn oblique and was still all-NBA caliber.
Yeah. We can't ignore that, especially when he came back and he was really himself in the second half of the season, and you saw it. And then you saw it in the NBA playoffs as well. That's why would I rather build my franchise around somebody? So I would go Paolo. But who I think is better right now, I'll go J-Dub.
That's interesting.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm curious.
Does it matter that, like, Paolo, when we're talking about winning playoff series, all the pressure is on Paolo for them? We're saying, like, oh, he has to do everything to push them to win a playoff series. We don't expect that from J-Dub.
Yeah.
He can be a swing factor in a playoff series
Why can't he be that?
because he has SGA.
I seen him swing games in the NBA playoffs. I feel like we're underrating how
Yeah, he can definitely do that.
He's also,
elite
but
he was.
they've had games where he also stunk it up and they still win.
Yeah.
every star player has bad games in the playoffs.
But if
No,
Paolo
it
plays
wasn't
bad,
about
they're
his
not
bad
winning.
game. Is what I'm saying. It's just like we've seen him have a bad game and the team still wins. Banchero, he runs the show in the playoffs, as we've seen.
Star players have bad games and their team still wins. It happens sometimes. People say Anthony Edwards played bad in Game 7 against Denver last year. They won.
True.
I feel
yeah.
like sometimes we underrate the second
Cook.
co-star in the NBA championship winning team.
It's all about skill sets. I feel like when you compare players like that, who's a better player, who's more skilled. I feel like the skill set defines how pluggable you are, and I guess that kind of determines your impact. Because I feel like right now for both of these players, they're in situations that are completely different. They came out of the draft completely different. You know, they were tasked with different responsibilities. That has changed since they've arisen in their success and their skill set. And they're in just different roles. And I think it's unfair because I feel like both situations aren't the best to really show. So like for Paolo, his situation is, no shooting, lack of spacing. J-Dub, in these conversations, he kind of gets hindered because he's not the number one. So he doesn't get this attention. So it's, well, what if I don't get the chance to be a number one? So it's the conversation is really comparing a guy who's the offensive engine for the guy who's kind of like a two-way player, but not the top guy, because that's not how they're built. And I think for me, I'd probably go Banchero just because I like his skill set. Now it can develop into a pretty damaging physical three-way scoring like hybrid forward, and I think that's for me is a swing factor in the NBA.
You guys feel very strongly about Paolo, and you, Riv. So your answer is that you think he's better than J-Dub right now,
Yeah.
and you would rather build a franchise around Paolo as well. So you think it's both. Rudy, you think it's both as well.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
It's easier for J-Dub to impact a playoff series or a big game. Not in the sense like it's easier for him to do it. It's just it's an easier task for him because he's not tasked with being the main guy ever.
I just feel like I cannot diminish what he did in the NBA playoffs. That's all I'm alluding to. And like this is another question because I cannot accurately say, because it hasn't happened yet, that J-Dub could be a number one on a team and lead that team to the playoffs and be the number one scoring option. So anything in regards to him is projecting if you think he can or can't be. So are you telling me that he cannot be that?
As of right now, I don't think his skill set is built for that personally.
I have a comparison.
But if we're projecting, then you're assuming that he just doesn't get better from these current points that he's at.
I think he's more of I feel like he can get better. I think here's the thing with getting better. Like I feel like it's easy to see a player 21, 22, 20, whatever, really young. Like, I mean, Anthony Edwards is one of the 7, 8 best players in the world. He can get better, sure. He can work on his game. There's things he can improve. But sometimes I feel like, and I'm not saying he is that, but like you look at a player like Jalen Brown, for example, 3, 4, 5 years ago, we were like, yeah, he's great. He's an all-star. He can get better. Even now, he can still get better. But for the most part, we know Jalen Brown has plateaued as, when he's at his best, one of the best number 2s in the league, probably top 20, 25 player in basketball. So I think, I don't want to, and I say that to say, I don't think I'm on either side of can he get better, can he not get better. I think it's just a wait and see. And I think in a situation, it'll be a little bit different because when we can say like, oh, like for me, I think one of his weaknesses is his left hand. He could get better at that, but him, like Joel is mentioning, and why the conversation probably is a tough one for him is, are people going to say he looks like he got better at it, or is just he's a number 2, so he's not getting the same attention as SGA, so you won't really know if he got better at it because he's not at the same level. So
it's not the same level of competition.
Yeah,
basically.
Because we know when we watch OKC play, we know they're sending the 2 at the ball at SGA. They're trapping the zone. Plus, of course, the team construction is very odd. But I think J-Dub, the way he went from last year to this year, in my opinion, I can see from him slow progression. I don't see jump to another level. From what I've seen so far, I feel like last year and this year, not a super big difference in him, just a lot more consistency. And I think that's what he is. He's a consistent two-way player that can give you some high-end offense at times and always elite defense.